In this tutorial, we are going to learn how to use modulation, kind of like vibrato, and pitch bend to enhance a melody. Right now I have a very simple melody with no modulation or pitch bend, just very flat. Now I could have recorded some pitch bend information while I played the melody, which is a nice way to record, but sometimes it's easier to record the melody first and then add or overdub the modulation and pitch bend. That's how I'm going to do it on this tutorial. So first off, we want to go to this button here in the transport, which is the MIDI merge button. When that's enabled, it allows you to record on the same track where there's already MIDI data, and the data won't be erased. It'll just be overlaid or added to. So let's do a little practice with our pitch bend and modulation. I'm just going to play the track but leave the record enable on here so we can sort of preview what's going to happen. So I just tried some different effects. Now let's record some of that. So record enable here, record here, being sure that MIDI merge is turned on. Rewind. I'll start with just my modulation. And you can see the event list is being populated with new MIDI events. They all begin with this triangle 1, which means specifically continuous controller number 1, which is the modulation wheel. All MIDI devices read controller number 1 as being modulation. My controller doesn't have much variable. It's just either on or off. Usually you can put it in gradually. So I'm getting a full value of 127 and then a 0 value. So now we can listen back and see if we like it, and if we find there's something we don't like with the modulation wheel, it comes in too early, goes out too late, we can simply move it in the event list. Let's listen. Okay, not too bad. Some of those might hang over into the note. Like let's say I go to this first 0. This note here, the E flat 4, is sounding before the modulation wheel turns off. I'm going to make it even more extreme. So now when we hear that first modulation wheel vibrato come in, it's going to kind of bleed into the next note. Let's hear that. See how that note still sounded wobbly, this E flat 4 right here? So this is where the event list comes in really handy. I can quickly go in and change this and make sure that this mod wheel turns off before we hear the E flat 4. So I'll just say same beat, maybe 460, and now it's before that note sounds. The other ones look good. Okay, and it's important with any continuous controller that you always have a value of 0 at the end, or else when you restart your sequence, it'll start with the effect, whatever the controller effect is enabled. We might see that more with the pitch bend, which we'll do next. Okay, I'm going to actually take out this mod wheel and do a pitch bend on this longer note, so I just have to delete it. And let's look at the playlists, or some programs call them lanes, below my instrument track. It's showing velocity now, but I could change that and show one of these controllers. Like I could go to controller 1, and now we see a graph for our controller. So I could actually go into the edit window and change the values. So if the modulation seemed too extreme, I can simply grab a value and move it down. Let's try that. So I'll take this and I'll just grab it, and I'll make it a little lower, and we should see the value change in here. So this one now changed to 78. Let's hear if it's a little more musical. Maybe it is. Okay, so you can edit not only in the event list, but also in these lanes below, or playlists below your track. So this time I'm going to change this to pitch bend, and I'm going to add a little pitch bend on this long note right here. Again, doing MIDI merge recording. Chord enable, and here we go. Okay, see how that sounds. I might do something different to make it a little more musical, but let's check. Okay, didn't like that so much, so I can actually highlight it here. Since I'm looking at pitch bend, you see it highlighted in our event list. And notice the values in the event list. They're really large numbers. No longer is it 128. It's actually out of 16,384 possible points. That's so that your pitch bends are smooth. You need more than 128 values, especially if you're bending the pitch like a whole octave up or down. Okay, I'm going to try a different pitch bend. I'll just delete this and try recording again. This time I'll do an upward pitch bend. That might sound better. It sounds pretty good. The mod wheel in there with the pitch bend doesn't sound good, so I'm going to actually just delete it. See how handy that list is? Now let's hear everything all together. That's kind of interesting, a little nicer than it was before, and you saw I added lanes or playlists so I could see all my controller data. I can see it in the event list as well.